The Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany, and CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today.
Good morning. Welcome to the Handicapper Support, taking a look at the action for Saturday, November 20th. Seth Merrow in the studio, Brian Nadeau live via Zoom from Florida. Brian, good morning.
Seth, good to hear from you. Good morning as we dawn in on the weekend prior to Thanksgiving, which is actually always a fun time in the racing world with the big doings. More at Churchill than Aqueduct. I know Aqueduct pushed that Cigar Mile card back to the first weekend in December, but Del Mar as well has the big weekend, so it's always kind of the last big weekend of the year, and as we build into 2022, so plenty of excitement left, and we've got a good card at Churchill today, and I know Aqueduct's got a really good card, especially that late pick 5, so looking forward to both of them.
Speaking of picks, I know Pete Aiello's been on vacation down at Gulfstream. You've been doing the morning line down there, so you've been watching a little Gulfstream as well. This is closing weekend for them for this current meet, which I think means, if I'm not mistaken, there's a mandatory pay in their Rainbow today, Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. Saturday, and they race Sunday. And don't quote me on this, but I think this is the first time where they do give everybody a little break. They're off from Monday through the following Wednesday when the championship meet kicks off and running. And then, you've already been seeing it. I don't know how closely you've paid attention down at Gulfstream, but you're starting to see some runners infiltrate. Todd Pletcher's got a firster that I made 6 to 5 on the morning line Sunday in an 11 horse field for Vinny Viola and Mike Rapoli. Mike Stidham with some Godolphin runners has been down there. So you're starting to see the migration from up north from some of these barns, and certainly next, a week from Wednesday, they'll really get going in earnest down there with the championship meet.
And then, as they say, that Cigar Mile kind of really puts the exclamation point on the New York season. And at that point, then you'll really see some of those faces start to show up down in South Florida. And just before we move on, I wanted to touch on one other thing, because who mentioned, somebody in the last couple of days mentioned it too. It may have been Ron during the pregame at some point. Anyway, last week I had Dave Liffin on the show, who is based down there as well. And so
Davey Litt, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking some stakes races because he does that column in the Blood Horse, but I ended the conversation talking a little Gulfstream and the new Tapeta surface and whatnot. But then we threw in, career resurgence for Chantel Sutherland. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed, because you always root for that kind of thing. Keeping my fingers crossed so you can kind of keep it rolling when some of the big guns come to town. But over the last couple of months, she's really come to the fore down there, as they say, kind of a career resurgence with her move to Florida.
There's no doubt about it. She's riding at like a 20% clip down there. And I read that story on her. DRF did a story on her, and she was very happy. New agent, got a lot of business that she felt like will.
And that's what it was.
Over.
Mike Welch had written the story in the past couple of days.
What it was.
Yeah.
So and don't forget, Jose Ortiz is staying in New York this winter. I believe Javier Castellano is staying in New York this winter. So there will be opportunities, and she's riding a lot for guys like Dave Fox, Gustavo Delgado. She's like 30-something% with. So, and those are typically guys that, keep it to their own in the winter, So I would think she'll keep riding for those barns and things like that. And she's done a really good job. Like I said, she's like at 20% for an extended period of time. So you think of the Edgar Zayas's, the Jaramillos, certainly Edwin Gonzalez has put his kick the door down, and she's right there with those three as the I'll call them the top quartet at Gulfstream, basically since the spring into now. And we'll see how it builds for the championship meet. But I would think she's poised to have a good run, Seth.
Yeah, like I said, we'll keep our fingers crossed, because that's fun to see folks like that. She was so good up in Canada early in her career, and then went out to California and was got that California jockey colony. My entire life has been tough for. I remember Cordero went out and tried and came back to New York, and Mike Smith is about the only guy I can think of who went out there and kind of made his name on the move out there. It's tough. It's been tough for years out there in California.
Yeah, it didn't happen overnight either. He had to put the hard yards in out there, and it's just hard. Even if you were, Jose Ortiz, it's gonna take time to get into barns out there. Certainly, you're gonna ride for people, but a lot. Don't forget, a lot of these guys, they watch one TV show essentially, and that's their track feed, so they might not realize the good work Eric Cancel does in New York over the winter. They might not have any idea who a guy like that is, and he rides at 15-17% in New York over the winter. Manny Franco would be a good example. They don't have no real idea who these guys are, because they don't go out to ride stakes races in California, and vice versa. So a lot of trainers have blinkers on what they're doing because they're so focused on their circuit, and that's all they see. So it's just hard to go somewhere, get your foot in the door, and ride for barns when a lot of people aren't really familiar with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen that really going back and forth. But for years, as I say, California has always been tough. All right, let's head to Kentucky now. Churchill Downs and their Saturday card will kick things off. They have 11. Aqueduct has 10. The opener at Churchill is a maiden claimer. At the top of my page, I have written yeesh. So I'm interested to see where you went with this group. The opener, again, maiden $15,000 claimers going 8.5 furlongs.
Well, there hasn't been a lot of yeeshes lately at Churchill, right, Seth? I know you mentioned
not with the money they're putting up.
Yeah, well, you were 6 for 9 on Thursday. I was 6 for 9 on Thursday. The one sheet had the early pick 5 Colt, 5 winners in a row, and I'd like to pat myself on the back, but there was a $16 winner in there, but 4 of them were odds on.
That counts, though.
Yeah, it's been slim pickings at Churchill if you're a value hunter. Today is a lot better, so hopefully we can give the good people some value. We'll do the one sheet selections as always and check the updates. 7-5-3-6 in the opener. Matt Shire, MSW dropper at Pinkaboo. At Arlington on the turf, going 2 turns. Now we go 2 turns on the dirt on the big drop. This horse didn't do a lot of running, but the barn's 24% with this kind of middling layoff. It's not really a layoff anymore, but 61 to 80 days. This is a really sharp barn as well. Outside here with Brian Hernandez, is at Colby Hernandez, excuse me. And this horse is drawn well to be outside the rest of these. Put this one on top in a scramble, as you said, a yeesh race. Social engagement on the drop for Brendan Walsh, second time out. Blinkers and gasoline. Moon over Tuscany, your morning line favorite for second choice, for New Father. Norcast, and then number 6, a little slice of pie for Eddie K, second out on a drop as well. Tough race set to kick off the early pick 5. I agree with your statement. 7-5-3-6.
Yeah, Norm Cassie, I'm glad you mentioned that. Norm and his wife Gabby Gaudet had a child just about a week ago or so, a little less than a week. And Marty McGee wrote about it in the Daily Racing Form because it was a great day for Norm. He wins 2 of those ginormous allowance purses at Churchill, but he wasn't there. Understandably, he was at the hospital with the wife. But in the article, Marty McGee writes, baby needs a new pair of shoes, so he gets a couple of allowance wins down at Churchill. So congratulations again to Norm and Gabby. Second race at Churchill this afternoon, $50,000 claimer, 3/4 of a mile.
3 1A over the 6-2. That's some stiff class drops. Kavad. Now you can argue this is where he should be all along, and Jim Chapman has run him over his head. Dirt stakes, turf stakes, 2 turns, 1 turn. He's held his own in a couple of them. So I would think he'll be really tough in here. I put him on top. The 1A, she's Moso, I guess we'll call it, 2 wins. And I think that's important in races like these because the rest of the field, with the exception of Rumble Strip Ron, only has 1 win. She's Moso is drawn outside the part of the entry, so you're going to get an underlay probably because you get the 2-for-1 angle. Number 6, Suburban Court for Bill Morey, high percentage barn, was an okay third at this level. And then number 2, Sonny is not so funny. I mean, what are you getting from this one? He runs off screen in a special weight on debut at Ellis with a big number, and then he doesn't run an inch. He literally basically gets I should say, in an optional claimer when he was not in for a tag at Keeneland and here he is for 50. Now they're not giving him away, but you say to yourself off that Ellis win, you're like, this is a horse that you would think they're going to try to put on the Triple Crown trail, and then here he is in for 50. So I don't know what you're getting. Mario's here. That's a good sign. The rail and an underlaid price are not. So I'm going to fade him a little bit in here. 3-1A over 2. Early pick 4 time at Churchill. And as you alluded to in the opener, Seth, at least we're seeing a little depth and competition. And race says, you know what, we won't be as chalky as we have been.
This is a funny race with horses that have tried Stakes Company, and that, as you say, Sonny, is not so funny for Michael Dubb and company, who looked fabulous in the debut and then completely clunked, and now they drop in for a tag. What do you do with a horse like that? And Cavad, the 3 horse, as you say, was in 4 straight stakes against some salty competition, and it just looks like they felt he had talent, so they tried everything. They tried a dirt sprint in the Sanford. 2 turns on the turf in the With Anticipation. Hey, let's go to a middling. We'll go to a mile in the Champagne and get our heads knocked in by Jack Christopher. But then let's try a turf sprint in the Futurity. And now I think they said, well, we've tried all the experiments, so let's drop in for a tag.
Yeah, if there's nothing, if not helping the racing secretary fill some races, there's no doubt about that.
Yikes. A third at Churchill, maiden $15,000 claimers again, 8.5 furlongs.
And by the way, if back to Gulfstream for a quick second, it's been stormy and rainy, and as I looked outside, it's absolutely pouring now. So take note of that in your handicapping for that Rainbow Six, because it's been a little tropical down here. Okay, back to business. So 8-9 over the 5 in the third. I took a shot at a price with Rhythmicalia, we'll call it. Had a tough post last time in against a little bit better and ran kind of a middling 7th, wasn't beaten that much. But the MSW races on turf, on dirt, short, long, muddy, I think they play with this group. Scotty Geldner's a pretty sharp guy. He puts his horses in the right spots. And maybe at a price the 8 here can surprise. And Seth, I'm sure I know you looked at this card. My goodness, there's no one in here to be scared of. That is for sure. Spidey Sense on the special weight drop for Kenny McPeak and Brian Hernandez, who are printing money together in Kentucky the last 3 months. First time gelding, too. That's a big deal. This horse hasn't been out since January at Gulfstream. That's a problem. But Kenny is a solid enough 12%, June, at Gulfstream, solid enough 12% from this kind of elongated layoff. You know he's aiming for Churchill with the big money, too. So I would think this horse is pretty cranked. And then number 5, Brazil Nut. Yes, Rosario's here, so it's a ginormous jock upgrade. But this horse has no speed whatsoever and hasn't been remotely close to the winner. So I don't want to take a short price on an 0-for-6 horse. 8-9-5 in another race where I think you're allowed to look for a price.
Yeah, Kenny McPeak doing very good at the meet, and that's good to see, because that was just tough luck for him up at Saratoga with that quarantine situation. So It's nice to see a rebound here down at Churchill. The 4th race at Churchill, maiden $50,000 claimers, 6 furlongs the distance.
Well, here's your single. Here's your anchor. Well, not an anchor. We've got 1 to go, but here's your leverage play. I mean, Money Mike's going to win this race. It's 7 over 4-6. He's evens on the line. He might be 1-5 in here. I mean, he runs at 82, set in for 75 last time. And, you're seeing horses in here in the low 60s, and they've had plenty of chances. So Money Mike in a name the score kind of spot for Rudy Brissett and Chris Landeros, who are 35% at Churchill Downs, 26% overall. And that's a sample of 79 horses. So these guys teaming up is good stuff. You've seen me do this so many times, Seth. A heavy favorite on top. Let's put a price underneath. Scary Larry for Keith DeSormo hasn't run since I saw him up close at Fairgrounds in March. Got a little bit of talent. He's okay. He's going to run with Lasix again. He got it last time for the first time. And again, I mentioned this. Yeah, you normally, Seth, you might be thinking, okay, Keith's giving this horse a run to get to Fairgrounds. They're running for 58,000 here. I mean, that's a big number. You've got to be ready to roll, because this race at Fairgrounds is probably like 28,000. So the money plays here. Scary Larry at a price, and then Miracle Man, another price underneath. John Court is here. Ran a pretty decent 4th after battling early last time, but I don't see Money Mike having any problem with a group like this. 7 over the 4-6.
Fifth race, it's an optional claimer with a money condition, 6 furlongs the trip.
You know, you and I talked off the air how I'm winning races at Churchill, and the ROI is, I think, around 250 for the one sheet, 6 for 9 the other day, and the dang play of the day can't get any kind of traction. We had one on Wednesday with Norm Cassie won about $7.80, but the play of the day has been admittedly a very frustrating endeavor for me. I'm second, I'm third, I'm fourth, and I can't get the W. So I'm changing it up here a little bit. Long story short, She's So Majestic is the play of the day here. 10-1 on the morning line. I don't really know what you're going to get. You know, we've questioned the morning line in Kentucky, but this horse is going to be very, very square value. And you've got to dig just a little bit. First and foremost, the reason I like this horse, there's so much speed in this race. It's only a 6-pack. But you look at Palace Avenger from the rail. Don't let's me fool you. The 3, and then certainly 8 No Elmers from the outside. They are all going, and they're going hard. And it's got to set it up for these horses. 2 over the 4-5 is my play. So I'm just tossing all the other speed that I'm hoping they get hot and bothered and wear each other out. She's So Majestic. Let's just draw a line through the turf race at Ellis, in over her head last time. Yes, it's Ginger for Brilliant Racing, and Joe Kay was in such good form in those kind of intermediate stakes races. Well, you look at the Dirt Run 2-back and the Roxalana, and she's within, you know, shouting distance of Bell's the One, Wisconsin, and Miss Mosaic, who would be 1 to 100 in this race. And she's got a stalking closing gear. Michelle Nehigh claimed this one for 62.5 from Johnny Ortiz. Got a big run, only dirt start for Michelle. Here we go again. A lot of speed up front. She's So Majestic, the play of the day. Lil Tootsie for Tom Amos is going to hit hard too. I mean, she's a very, very nice 3-year-old filly, sprinting especially. She's going to sit the trip, as is Headland for Steve Hobby, who ran very, very well, but it wasn't June the last time she's been seen. So maybe she needs one too. Play of the day, She's Majestic. The pace in here looks suicidal. I'm hoping it falls apart, Seth, and we run them all down.
Michelle Nehigh, of course, if folks aren't familiar with the story, she was an assistant for Pletcher, but she had a doctorate in neuroscience. And I bring her up because she's the trainer, your play of the day there. But she was in New York based, and she's kind of disappeared a little bit. But she owns a farm now down in Kentucky, I think. So she's Kentucky based, and first starter at the meet, but just fill people in on that because she had an interesting, so a lot of people wrote about the story. You know, you don't often become a doctor of neuroscience then wind up training horses, which she did. But again, if you haven't seen her name that much, she's now based down in Kentucky.
Yeah, and she's in Florida quite a bit too. I think, you know, she galloped all those horses like a Shadow and those kind of horses for Todd. And she's, you know, she's done a solid job for the kind of barn and stock that she has. And she's a sharp horsewoman.
6th race at Churchill this afternoon. Maiden 30 claimers, 6.5 furlongs.
So Derby City 6 time, and after Thursday, the carryover was like 98,000. And you know, take note of that. It's a good jackpot bet. They only hold 10% each day. This is an impossible race, Seth. 10, 7, 6, 9, 12. I took all the spots. I think it's a deep spread. Paulo Lobo and Joe Talamo have a good thing going together. 15, 18% overall, and at Churchill, a giant ROI. And, you know, these are solid connections, don't get me wrong, but, you know, they're not prolific. So those are numbers that play to me. And here's a special weight dropper, 2nd time blinkers, takes the right class drop, the biggest drop in racing, going to be a price. And I don't care who you like in here, Seth. They're no better. They're only a few lengths better than anybody else you might not like. And it's that type of race. I want value. I get it with the 10. Mercias, some tough names today. Reed's Fangirl is not a tough name, and probably maybe goes favored for Amos and Gaffalione off the claim. We know how good Tom is, 21%. But the form here is very so. So Tom's going to have to move this up. And Mac Robertson does a good job. With his horses. So easier said than done. Cost a fortune. Got some maiden special weights in there. Blinkers go on for Jeremiah O'Dwyer. Scintillating Star for Cassie and the Biscuit. And then outside Stanley Market for Vicky Oliver. trying dirt for the first time. One turn again, MSW dropper as well. Seth, throw the dart at the board and see where it lands, because this is a tough one to kick off that Derby City 6.
All right, 6 down. Let's take a break. We will do the remainder of the Churchill Saturday afternoon card right after this. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Albany County, an incredible destination to live, work, and play, with easy connections to more than a dozen cities from our vibrant modern airport. It's a short trip downtown to a hive of culture and amusement, from world-class shows at the newly renovated Times Union Center to reliving the past at the New York State Museum. From outdoor recreation to shopping to nightlife, Albany County has something for everyone. We'll see you soon.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Welcome back to the Handicapper Support. Seth, Merrow, and Brian Nadeau. Brian's in the midst of looking at the Churchill card for Saturday afternoon. I'll shift to Aqueduct in a few, but let's look at the 7th race at Churchill. Kicking off Pick 5 action. Maiden specials going for a $120,000 purse. These are 2-year-old fillies going 8.5 furlongs.
These look like 50,000 maiden claimers with a potential star. And so La Crete, if she can run a little bit, is going to win because she's a half to Clairiere. Now, it's not easy winning at 2 turns, but this is a Stone Street homebred. Steve Asmussen, new go-to rider, Joel Rosario, and Clairiere did win at this distance. Heck, I didn't look it up. I just know she did. She might have won on November 20th, to be honest with you, because I know she ran in the Silver Bullet Day at Fairgrounds, and I think she won again. So it might have been right around this time, if not. But La Crete's got plenty of works, pretty solid, and I think Seth, she's probably pretty good. B, you look at this field. Churchill's had some bang up maiden special weights. This isn't one of them. So I would think she's 5-2 on the morning line. It wouldn't shock me, Seth, if she's 3-5 in here. She'd be check the board. Obviously, we kick off the late pick 5 here. But I don't really see anyone else that you really can bet in here. Because, she's from Hall of Fame connections with a Hall of Fame pedigree. And this is only the second foal out of cavorting, who was a multiple Grade 1 winner in New York for Kieran in Stone Street. And the fact that the first foal, Clairiere, who's so good, also won at this trip on debut. I don't really see La Crete losing this race. My Sweetness in second for Jimmy Baker. Ran okay on the turf at 19-1 at Keeneland. Now goes to the dirt. Candy Wright have a tap at mare, so certainly well within the pedigree. I would expect her to get better for that star. And then Lagarity is the 3-1 second choice. And, I guess she's okay for Kenny McPeak. She's run 1 turn in both starts, a 3rd and a 4th with slow figures. Seth, you're a buyer guy. I'm going to tell you one thing. The highest last race buyer on the dirt is Lagarity for 57. If La Crete shows up with 4 legs in the paddock, she's running a whole heck of a lot faster than 57. So I would think you probably can single her in your exotics at something to 5. And quite frankly, Seth, if she's anywhere remotely close to this 5-2 morning line, that would be a very big negative to me, because she's supposed to be about 3-5 in a race like this.
Yeah, betting public is pretty savvy with these big pedigrees, and so this horse is going to take a lot of action, you would have to think. And you were pretty cle. Clairiere, just a little over a year ago, won at this mile and 16th in a debut at Churchill, October 25th. And then came back a month later, second in the Goldenrod.
Goldenrod to travel column. Okay.
Yeah, and then was off until that win down in the Rachel Alexandra in February. And, of course, went on to run second this past summer in the Alabama, won the Cotillion. So, a very talented runner there, sibling to Lacrete. 8th race at Churchill. Optional claimer with a non-winners of 2 condition. 6.5 furlongs is the distance.
4 over the 5-7. Here's, to me, a single. Center aisle ran so well, winning for Paulo Lobo. Here's Rosario. Paulo's done a really good job with this OXO runners that a lot of them have come from Chad. He's popping up with some of them, and he's done a very good job with them. This one looked good wiring. I think she's loose here again. If not, if somebody else wants to go, she's perfectly drawn. I would think she doubles up. Yes, she's got to prove it on a fast track. Yes, she's got to run better on the class rise, but she's got a lot of upside second off the long layoff too. Number 5, Compelling. Compelling Smile is interesting, Seth. She's 15-1 on the morning line. She will be a big price. Dale Romans has claimed 2 runners in the last. He never claims horses. So the fact that he dipped in and grabbed this one for 80, I thought that was very noteworthy. I mean, it's just not something this barn ever does. And not only did he claim one, he claimed one for 80. So, I mean, I would think he likes what he sees here, Tough race, but she's a big number. Maybe she can get second. And then Miss Mosaic, much more likely, has been in good form for Ben Colbert. Seth, the horse I want to fade is Sunpath because maybe Brad's got her good. The Lasix might help. She was kind of very, very uninspiring at Fairgrounds last winter, and now she hasn't been seen since an Oaklawn run in March. Maybe she's bigger, stronger, and tougher as a soon-to-be 4-year-old filly, but I need to see it before I back a horse at Sunpath at 2-1.
9th race at Churchill this afternoon, an allowance non-winners of 2 lifetime. Again, the distance, 6 furlongs.
5-7-1-3. You want to give me 8-1 on King's Mischief? I'd love it. I mean, it was just a very, very good 4th to Ducal and Winter Pond, horses that are going places for Brad Cox and Chad Brown. Only beaten 4 lengths, back on the dirt last time. Now cuts back after chasing hard splits. Plenty of foundation here. I like this horse quite a bit in here. 2-lane tryst for Cherie DeVoe should run better. Second off the layoff. This is a horse with a lot of talent. I believe it or not, I actually played this horse in the Woody Stevens. I shouldn't say that out loud, but I like this horse quite a bit, and I would think he moves forward off that comeback. Number 1, Cool Quest. Tried the acid test last time off the huge figure special weight win. Tried the acid test in the Perryville and just got absolutely fried in a race where they just went ballistic early. Don't hold that against him, but I don't want a short price at an underlay, especially as part of an entry. And then number 3, Name Rejected. 1 for 11 with 5 seconds. So you get the MO, but he kind of fits in here for Jimmy DeVito. He might be able to work out a trip just off the speed too. But I like King's Mischief at a price in here, 5-7 over the 1-3.
Race number 10, stakes action, the Chaluki. These are 3-year-olds and up, fillies and mares going the 1-turn mile.
3 over the 4. That's it for me. Matera for Brad Cox has been facing some good fields. Definitely drops out of a tough race. She Dares the Devil. Crystal Ball and Envitante would be all favorites in here. 2 turns to 1. We get that foundation for a testing 1-turn mile. The class here plays. I like her quite a bit, as you see. My lone A in here. Number 4, Miss Bigley is going good for Phil D'Amato. Comes in from California. She just chased a couple good ones out there in Private Mission. And as time goes by, a couple Baffert runners. As time goes by, West Point, I believe, as well. Miss Bigley seems to be, in a good spot. I don't know about you, Seth. I know I want nothing to do with obligatory. I mean, she had the biggest score of the year for me. The play of the day was in the 8 bells on Derby Day. She just looks slow to me. She's got no speed. She was absolutely dreadful in the Raven run against 3-year-old fillies. Now she's facing older for the first time. She has to prove it to me. And she's always at the mercy of the pace. And her only win this year is when they literally couldn't run any faster in the 8 bells. I don't see it falling apart like that here. I'm definitely fading her in this spot.
Yeah, first time against Older. We'll see what she can do. The 11th and final at Churchill on Saturday. Maiden specials going 7 furlongs.
3-9 over the 2. I know Billmont's not really a first-time starter kind of a guy, but he is 13%. And Alcohira, the dam here, Acrobatique, is actually a half-sister to Covfefe. So that's a good thing. And he reaches for Tyler Gaffalione. That's a good thing, too. And Liz Colvin I've got in second, who was pretty good on debut in a fast race for the level. And the number 2, Fabulous Fanny, seems to be moving forward for Steve Asmussen. But they haven't been world beaters as of yet. And if Alcohira can run a little bit, she could probably play with a group like this. I would think the price will be square, a nice pedigree for ace connections. I mean, Tyler Gaffalione is like, Bill Shoemaker in Kentucky these days. So anytime somebody reaches for him, it's a great, great sign. So let's see if she can run in here. 3-9 over the 2 to wrap up that 11 pack at Churchill Downs.
Sounds good. We'll take a break. We will shift our attention to the Big A Aqueduct when we return. Stay with us.
We had started it 2 years ago, and to me it's a privilege to be able to do this, and I mean that sincerely. And we see the need for it more and more. And when you do see the people that are in line for the turkeys, it makes it all well worth it.
Where's the best place to find your favorite teams, your favorite food, daily drink specials, and wagering on live horse racing? Legends Field Sports Bar, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Get your game on day or night with 75 flat-screen TVs, tournament-style pool tables, a private banquet room, and live horse racing. So if someone asks you, where's the best sports bar in the capital region? Tell them Legends Field Sports Bar, inside the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
I'm Seth Merrow, and as serious horse players, we know that information is critical when placing a bet. With live streaming of more than 30 tracks, race replays, free past performances, and daily picks from professional handicappers, no one gives you more up-to-the-minute information than Capital OTB. Combine that with the best player awards in New York State, and you have everything a serious horse player needs to be successful.
Win more with Capital OTB.
Winning starts here. Oh, I think you did. Yeah, okay. Yeah. No. All right, here we come. 3, 2.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Brian and Seth with you. We just got through 11 at Churchill Downs. We'll start off the 10 race card at Aqueduct. Set your alarms too. 11:50 in the a.m. for the first post here. Hopefully we're on the turf. The weather I know looked pretty good for the weekend. I think unseasonably warm as well. So that's a good thing because they've got a nice card in here. That late pick 5, I looked at it and handicapped it myself. It's really strong. Let's kick it off with a maiden special weight on the inner going a mile for 3 and up.
Yeah, we need unseasonably warm because that further out forecast for next week is not sounding Didn't you say the family is coming down to your? They are
Yes.
Getting out of Dodge right in time. It sounds like. So we'll keep our fingers crossed as far as Thanksgiving week. But as far as Saturday, should it go on the dirt 7, 6, and 10, but on the turf 1A, 7, 2, and 8. I'll put Aruba on top. Last couple of starts pretty good number-wise. It was a third and a fourth place finish, but kind of improved, closed the gap in the fourth place finish and the number improved. Just as a look of a horse in the third career start that is primed for a good effort. We'll have to negotiate from an outside post position. That's going to be the knock, but Irad Ortiz is on board. Abundant Honor, first-time starter from John Kimmel. This one had 4 siblings that won their career debuts. I love win early, albeit none were on the turf. So keep that in mind. Again, this would be my top pick if it goes over to the main track. But I still think there is that win early here that I just couldn't ignore. And then in the third spot, Warfighter, Graham Motion, first-time starter. There was a sibling called Bugle that was second, and first in the first 3 starts of the career. So I thought there was potentially a little win early with the breeding here. Graham Motion can have them ready. And again, the horses that have started, they've shown some flashes, but certainly no world beaters in here. So for me, in the opener at Aqueduct, 1A, 7, 2, and 8.
Race 2 kicks off the early pick 4. We're on the outer turf for this $50,000 starter allowance, 3 and up, going 6.
Should go dirt 2, 1, and 12, but on the turf 7, 6, 2, and 8. Number 7 is Lyrical Poet. Goes out for owner trainer Wesley Ward. It's a turf sprint. Wesley Ward, enough said. But this one, obviously, off the last race, has to be considered. It was a 90 buyer and a near miss finish down at Kentucky Downs. But the start just before that at Saratoga, solid on the front end in a conditional claimer, 5.5. So this is a proven turf sprinter from a guy, a trainer that specializes in this kind of thing, as we saw last week at, or a couple of weeks ago at the Breeders' Cup. I said to Dave Grenig, I thought a story that went under the radar a little bit was Wesley Ward and the juvenile turf sprint, which he's won 3 out, the last 3. And to win 3 straight Breeders' Cup races, as I said, I thought the Wesley Ward story went a little bit under the radar. But again, that's kind of his specialty. So we'll put Lyrical Poet on top. Fair Hair Boy in the second slot. Moves into the barn of Tony Dutrow, out of the barn of Safi Joseph, but seems to be in good form. The last was a turf sprint, and it was a good closing effort, but that kind of an effort is a little, you're up against it a little bit, but I think this horse will be heard from in the lane. Cousin Andrew in the third spot, Linda Rice trainee, similar to Fair Haired Boy, came from kind of out of the clouds last time, and you're a little bit up against it, but that was the turf debut in the 8th career start, so might have gained some education from that one. In the second at Aqueduct, 7, 6, 2, and 8.
Race 3, a $20,000 claimer, 3 and up. We go 7 on the main track.
4, 7, 6, and 5. I put Crypto Cash on top. Linda Rice trainee. There was a voided claim at the end of May and then didn't come back till November, and that automatically raises some red flags. And the comeback race wasn't great, but went off at 22-1. The buyer number was fairly solid and comparable to what the horse had before leaving. Now drops down for a 20 tag. So there's pros and cons at work here, but I'm going to give this horse a little bit of a shot. Again, second start back and a little dose of class relief given the number thrown last time. So I'll tilt in that direction. Baby I'm Perfect off the claim for Rudy Rodriguez. Numbers seem a little bit light as compared to the best numbers from some of the others in here, but I'll look for a move forward on the move to the Rudy Rodriguez barn, and then Speeding Kid in the third spot. Kind of knocking on the door, 5 in the money finishes and 7 starts this year. Hasn't gotten a win in the last couple of seasons. Also has an apprentice on board. But I just think this horse fits nicely with this particular group. So again, maybe a little bit of a stretch on the win end, but certainly at an 8-1 price, I have to take a look at this one as being in the mix for, exactas, trifectas, superfectas. Third at Aqueduct, 4, 7, 6, and 5.
All right, let's get back to the inner for the 4th. It's a $50,000 maiden claimer, 2-year-old fillies here. We go a mile, as I mentioned, on the inner turf.
If it went on the dirt, I'd pretty much keep it the same. I'd probably pull in the 1A from the main track only runners. But on the turf, I have it 1, 9, 8, and 10. Dream Streak on top. Christophe Clement runner goes maiden special weight to maiden claiming off a debut that it was okay. Nothing to write home about. But it's one of those races that I would assume gave this horse a little bit of fitness and education. There was a sibling called Dream It Is that won the first 3 starts of its career. The first 2 of those were on synthetic up at Woodbine. So, again, that may play to the turf angle this afternoon. But as I say, with the experience under the belt and the class move, Dream Streak on top. Second spot, Masabi, the number 9 horse, Chad Brown runner for Shadwell. And it's just there's a little bit of breeding here maybe. Steady string of workouts, many of them over at Monmouth before moving to Belmont for the last couple of works. Now, given these connections, the debut for $50,000 is a little bit of maybe a negative, but again, I'm just looking at the rest of this field and thinking a fresh face doesn't necessarily have to be too much. Third spot, I'll go with No Time Alone. Maiden special weight to maiden claiming. There was a sibling called January 1 that won its career debut, albeit on the dirt up at Saratoga a while back. This is a Wesley Ward runner. He's been trying his specialty, sprinting this one on the turf against, again, maiden specials, 2-back, faced the boys and ran a pretty good second. Hasn't broken through yet, though. So again, the move down to the 50 tag and the stretch out to 2 turns, I thought maybe a little bit intriguing for a horse that I think on breeding is maybe a little better than we've seen so far. So now they're changing some things up that attracts my attention. In the 4th at Aqueduct, 1, 9, 8, and 10.
All right, let's split the 10 race card here. Back on the outer turf, a maiden special weight for 2-year-olds. We go 1 mile and a 16th.
Should it go on the dirt, I'll pull the main track only in on top, the Pletcher Firster, and then keep the rest the same. But on turf, 4, 7, 11, and 6. I thought the 9 and the 1 were playable in here at prices. I wouldn't argue anybody off of those. I think it's a tough, fun race, but I put Parketry on top. Barkley Tag, second-time starter. Dylan Davis on board, and he's really been riding very, very well. So that's a little bit of a bonus. There was a sibling called Market Crease Warrior that won its career debut, albeit 10 years ago. So the dam may be getting a little long in the tooth. But, again, this one had some trouble and ran a good second in debut. Does have that little bit of win early breeding. I'll look for some improvement. Parketry on top. Fort Washington, yet another second-time starter. This one from Shug off a pretty good-looking near-miss third in the debut. And so, like the top pick, I expect that first start, that experience to add a little education that the horse can build on. Third slot, we'll go with Forwardly. Worked 10.2 before attracting 100,000 at an Ocala sale in April in the Chad Brown barn. Steady string of workouts. I think there's a little bit of life here from a first-time starter from Twirling Candy, who's a good win early sire. So Pharaoh in the 4th spot. I mentioned this one because at 12-1, there was a sibling called Elverson that won its career debut, albeit on dirt, but it's a Bill Mott firster at a little bit of a price that could be intriguing. As I say, Win It, I think, is interesting. Al's Rocket is fun in the second start at a price. Tough race, the 5th race, kicking off the pick 6. But again, for me, 4, 7, 11, and 6.
Which will bring us to another break on the Handicappers Report. 5 races down at Aqueduct. When we come back, late pick 5 time. It's a good one. Stay tuned.
Started it 2 years ago, and to me it's a privilege to be able to do this, and I mean that sincerely. And we see the need for it more and more, and when you do see the people that are in line for the turkeys, it makes it all well worth it.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Welcome back to the Handicappers Report. Brian and Seth with you. 11 down at Churchill on a good card and a really good 10-race card at Aqueduct. And we've gotten 5 in, which means there's 5 left. And this late pick 4, I say late, kicks off at 2:14 in the p.m., but it's a good one. Hopefully the weather looks really good in New York this weekend. So this is a doozy of a sequence. The 6 is an optional claimer, 3 and up. 80 is the tag. It's a 2X. We go 6 furlongs on the main track.
I couldn't get by cost basis. It's Chad, it's Klarovich. Now, not invincible, and I think this horse will be a short price. So if I'm playing pick 5s, I'm maybe playing around a little bit as well. But cost basis, just on the numbers, maybe a slight edge, and then you get those connections and Irod Ortiz as well. I'll tilt in this direction. But as I say, this is also 4 starts this year, no wins. So not invincible. If I'm looking for alternatives, Drafted steps out of Stakes Company, tried the Bold Ruler last time. Two Back was in one of these optional claimers and ran 5th. So that doesn't necessarily, and it was behind cost basis, so that doesn't necessarily add confidence. But I just thought, I'm looking at the rest of this field, I think Drafted is going to be a decent fit with this bunch this afternoon. T Loves a Fight goes out for Orlando Nadeau on a best effort. This horse becomes very interesting. Ran 5th last time, but it was at 1 mile and a 16th. I think cutting back to the 6th going to be very beneficial for T Loves a Fight. So 6th race for me, 2, 3, 1, and 5.
No spun to in 1 with the big number at Parks. I mean, I agree with you with cost basis. If he doesn't win today, he's never winning.
Yeah.
I mean, he's had so many chances. He might be lone speed too, so he's an absolute must use. I thought spun in 1 was pretty interesting.
I'll ask, what would you do with spun and run? I don't know what to do with those kind of horses because the last, to me, it was down at Parks and it looks like an aberration. So I'm not quite sure, do I believe that number or not? Today, Saturday, validates one way or the other, but I wasn't sure which way to go. I left him out, but yeah, I mean, if this horse runs back to that, it becomes very tough in here.
I agree with everything you said. The only thing I'll add to that, one of the reasons I think that might be a good number, the runner-up was pretty good. He's a PA bred, but he's all right. And then this horse has only won twice. He's also only dirt sprinted twice, and both of them were wins. So, 2 turns in the 2nd and 3rd start, and then the turf sprint. If you focus on his 2 dirt sprints, I think he's pretty good. I just had it, Seth, 7-2. Those are the 2 I was going to use because I don't know about you. When you have a heavy favorite that does look like he's going to win, I don't want to go too deep. But I thought that horse was very interesting. And Jorge Duarte is a sharp guy too. That doesn't, bring him in for no reason. So I thought I'm going to keep an eye on him.
That's a good catch, though. You parse out the 2 6-furlong races. This horse starts to stand out maybe a little bit more.
Yeah. So just kind of food for thought.
Yeah.
The 7th is a good one too, and it will be interesting because I think if the 1A for Rapoli draws in, I mean, the 1 looks okay. The 1A looks really good. So we'll have to see. But this is a maiden special weight for 2-year-olds going 7 furlongs. And I will note this because I looked this up. Irad has first call on the 1A Outperform. So if he draws in, he could be all right. How'd you see it, Seth?
I have a 10, the 1 entry, 9, 2, and 3 if the 1A, well, originally if the 1A didn't. I pulled in, I matched up the entry just because I think the plain one could be okay. But yeah, I'm with you. I was more, when I first did it, I just had the 1A in the mix, and then I was going to put the 1 a little further down, and so I just put them together. So again, originally I was looking at an AE, and so I had the 3 at the bottom of the mix should that one not get in, but now the entry one way or the other gets in. So 10, 1 entry, 9, and 2. You can take a look at the 3. But I put Sky and Sand on top. Worked 10.1 before the March sale, $375,000. Showed some early speed before fading to 3rd in the debut. There was a sibling called Lon's Finish that was 2nd in debut and then won the 2nd start. So maybe the Asmussen runner lives up to the older sibling. And then, Outperform is interesting. By Gun Runner, what can you say? Gun Runner has just been phenomenal so far this year. Now, on the bottom side, the lone racing sibling was 8th in the only start of the career. So I wasn't quite sure. There wasn't really enough to go on there. This horse is certainly working very well, and with Gun Runner, Outperform is very much in my sight should that one get in. And By Uncle Mo, Never Change could be okay as well. But again, I more prefer the 1A and hope that one gets in. Piccadilly, it's an Into Mischief 2nd-time starter from Shug, and with that breeding, I thought the horse could be a little bit interesting at a 10-to-1 price. Iconic Adventure, 2nd-time starter for Bill Mott that could be okay. Matt Doyle is a runner by Violence, hasn't gotten it done yet, but the numbers this one tosses match up nicely with this bunch. But for me, in the 7th at Aqueduct, 10, the 1 entry, 9, and 2.
Race 8 back to the outer turf here. It's a 1X, 3-year-olds and up. We go 6 furlongs.
On dirt, 4, 9, and 5. On the turf, 6, 2, 10, and 9. I will put Call Me Harry on top. Comes out of a optional claimer win last time with a solid number in the third of a series of improving numbers. So just in good form, moving into good form. Comes out of a nice win. I'll put this one right back in the mix again this afternoon. Kawaii a River in the second slot. Lightly raced, has shown some talent so far. One couple starts back to break the maiden. Then they tried a little stakes race last time. And an okay fourth in the field of 10. They dropped back into the more proper non-winners of 1 now. And I think with that stakes experience last time, Kawaii River is going to absolutely be a player. Colton's Command in the third slot. Bill Mott, Jose Ortiz. A third, 3-back, couple of seconds most recently, all in turf sprints, all with numbers that match up nicely with this crew. And I think this horse, only 7 starts, so still lightly raced, in good form, potent connections, seems like a player. Our friend Roddy Valente has Bust and Shout. This horse could be interesting, coming off a long layoff, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a good performance. You look at a couple of the workouts underneath, they're pretty good. So Bust and Shout, I think, is also an interesting little bit of a player in here, but does have to, overcome that layoff. In the 8th at Aqueduct, 6, 2, 10, and 9.
Race 9 is the feature, and it's on the inner turf. The Grade 2 Red Smith, 200 grand on the line. We go 1 mile in 3/8, and I would think, Seth, all eyes are on Serve the King. It was so good running second to Rock Emperor, and Chad passed the Breeders' Cup, said he needed a little more seasoning before he jumps into Grade 1 waters again. He looks really tough to me, and I don't know if you're getting 3-1 on him.
Yeah, I agree with the number last time. I've said it before. I think these days bettors pay attention to buyers, and I think that triple digit last time will attract a lot of attention. I couldn't get past it. I have it 4, 5, 7, and 10. I do think it's an intriguing race, though. But that last race, the Turf Classic, good second. Before that, won the John's Call up at Saratoga. Last time was 1.5 miles. The John's Call was 1 mile and 5/8. So the 1 mile and 3/8 today is going to be well within his scope. So I'll put that one on top. Shamrocket, though, from Todd Pletcher. Comes out of a 1.5 mile stakes victory in the point of entry last time. Solid number that stacks up very well with the top pick. So I think Shamrocket is very playable in here and has a good shot. Channel Cat, the earner of $1.4 million. 6th in the Turf Cup, 4th in the Bowling Green, 7th in the Manhattan, but won the Man of War 4 starts back. This is a 6-year-old, and so it's one of those that I think at 6 years old just has to come out and feel his oats, and if Channel Cat is feeling good, I think can be right up in the mix. A best effort puts this horse in the hunt. It's hard to know if you're going to get a best effort or not, but I couldn't leave the horse out. I do think the horse could be an interesting player. Price talk on the outside for Tony Dutrow off the last 2 starts could be interesting as well at a little bit of a price. Chad also has value engineering in there for Klarovich that I think could be a player. Jonathan Thomas and Augustin with Corelli. The Augustin runners in situations like this, when they're a price, always attract my attention. It used to be Jonathan Shepard. Now it's Jonathan Thomas, but you can sometimes get a little price there. I think it's a fun race. And yeah, off the last race, probably goes through Serve the King. But I have it in the 9th at Aqueduct, 4, 5, 7, and 10.
We'll close it down in the 10th at a early 4:13 in the p.m. It's a state-bred maiden special weight, 2-year-olds going 6. And I guess the question is, Seth, if it's not Catching Cupid, is it anybody else? He looks tough in here.
Yeah, 1, 8, 5, and 10 for me. It's just hard to get past the number this one through. There's a sibling called Market Music that won its career debut, albeit at Finger Lakes 5 years ago. But again, there's a little win early, and this one kind of validated it with the second place finish last time. But the number clearly has an edge on this bunch. So if the Charlie Baker runner can just kind of string a couple together like that, much less move forward in the second start, it's going to go through Catching Cupid. Hot Rod Rumble, interesting. They paid over $300,000 for this horse. Clearly has been something of a disappointment, but seemed to kind of maybe figuring it out in the last couple starts. Certainly the start two back was very good on the front end before fading late. I won't be surprised if we get a big effort from Hot Rod Rumble and Raw Courage in the third spot. Claim 2 starts back, tried a similar maiden special last time, and it was an okay fifth. But again, the numbers this horse has thrown in the past couple of starts match up pretty well with this bunch. In the 10th and final, 1, 8, 5, and 10. Wrapping up the action for both Aqueduct and Churchill on Saturday. And again, if you didn't get a chance to write things down, you can always go to the website, capitalotb.com, click on the handicapping link, and then the Handicappers Report, a nice printable page that you can take with you or sit by your computer if you're playing by home, and hopefully gave out some good ideas. Brian, good luck this afternoon. Knock 'em dead.
Yeah, thank you, Seth. Good luck to you too. Good, enjoy. Have a happy Thanksgiving to you, everybody, Brian and Dino and Danny and John and Mike and everybody at Control Central there, and of course all of everybody, all our friends back home as well and that support us. So have a great Thanksgiving. Be safe, and then I will catch up with you guys next weekend after the dust clears on a really fun weekend. We'll have a big card at Churchill to go over next Saturday. So you and everybody enjoy it, and we'll catch up with you in a week.
Sounds good. I can't wait. I'm a turkey. Are you a turkey guy? I love turkey.
How can you not be, right? Football, turkey, maybe a pop or two. Yeah, sign me up for all that.
Football, turkey, little apple pie. Looking forward to it. Yeah, so you and the family have a great time as well. We'll talk next week. We'll wrap it up for the Handicapper Sport for this week. Good luck to all of you. Stay tuned. Top of the hour, Racing Across America.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.